Hello again, sleepy people. My name's Alyssa. Thank you for joining me on my channel. Today's video is going to be a pretty personal one. I just want to start this off with a little disclaimer saying that I'm going to be talking about some pretty uncomfortable things, some things that can be pretty triggering to people, and just some scary thoughts. So this video is going to be about postpartum depression, or PPD for short, and my personal experience with it. It's kind of hard to talk about, but I'm going to just say what comes to mind. I don't really have anything planned for this video. I want to be as open as possible on this channel, and I want people that are having scary thoughts that they didn't think they were going to have, to be able to come here and see that you're not alone. So just a little disclaimer that things can get pretty uncomfortable during this video. I'm already really nervous to talk about it. I've never really openly shared with my postpartum depression with anybody except maybe a couple of friends and my boyfriend. Before I was pregnant, I had been diagnosed with severe depression for a number of years. I was on a few different medications. It was called lithium at the time, and it was also for bipolar disorder. When we found out I was pregnant, I had to stop taking the lithium because it is known to cause birth defects. And so I quit taking everything. I was on lithium and Lexapro at the time. And for my pregnancy, I didn't take any medication whatsoever. I didn't take any Tylenol, aspirin. I didn't even take like the nasal squeeze for stuffy noses. I was very strict with what I took into my body medication-wise. I hadn't really noticed any of my depression symptoms, which was incredible because depression doesn't just go away. So I was really shocked, but I thought maybe I was just missing this little person in my life and I don't need medication. I didn't know a lot about PPD except for, you're sad and you want to hurt your baby. So I didn't really look into it. I thought there's no way that I'd ever want to hurt my baby. So I kind of just brushed it under the rug and thought, once I have him, if I need to get back on medication, I'll look into it. Once I had my son, it was the best day of my life. It was like, I know this is cliche, but like this part of me, all the pain and hurt and anger and sadness that I had been carrying with me for so long just disappeared once they put him on my chest. I was so happy to finally meet this little person. And I mean, I can't describe the feeling that I had when I first had my son, and the oxytocin was just flowing, and I was so happy. The night he was born, I remember my boyfriend was sleeping and I was holding our son, and I just started sobbing uncontrollably. For a lot of moms, when their baby is born, they get this huge oxytocin rush, and it just is amazing. You're so happy. And I was so drenched with so many emotions. I had to let it out. I was sobbing. I was holding my son. At a birth playlist, I could not play it for him. I could not play it. Every time I heard a song, I just started crying. And I think that was the start of my postpartum depression, but I didn't know it at the time. We left the hospital after one night, and when I got home, I started feeling fuzzy, is the best way I can put it. I don't want to say that we didn't bond. We did. I had an amazing bond with my son. But I started having some pretty scary thoughts. I didn't think it was postpartum depression because none of my thoughts were about intentionally hurting my son. They were more accidentally hurting him. I had a very vivid, reoccurring thought in my brain that if I set down my son, his head was going to like squish. And it was very vivid in my mind. I could see it perfectly, laying him down, and all of a sudden his skull would like cave in. It was awful. All I heard in my head throughout the day, it was like my own voice just saying, don't put him down, don't put him down, don't set him down, he's gonna get a flat head, he's gonna get a flat head. And in my mind, if my son had got a flat head, that meant that I was neglecting him, which was my biggest fear. Soon, that really scary reoccurring thought turned into me never setting him down. I wouldn't go to the bathroom, I wouldn't shower, I would not leave him. Sorry. Those thoughts started accompanying other thoughts with, what if I'm holding him and I go and I turn a corner and he wakes up and he smacks the back of his head and he dies? And then every single thought that I had was, what if I do this, he dies? What if I do this, he dies? What if I do this, he dies? I can't leave him with anyone, he's going to die. It will be my fault. I'll be a terrible mom. And I didn't tell anyone about that because I thought that if people knew that I was thinking about my baby dying all the time, they would take him away from me, and that was the last thing I wanted. I still didn't think I had postpartum depression because, like I said, none of my thoughts were, I want to hurt my baby, I hate my baby, I don't love my baby. Something that I had not confided in anyone before, that I am very openly wanting to talk about now, is those thoughts got so bad that I remember Googling how to place your baby for adoption, because I thought that I was not a capable mom for having such terrible thoughts all the time on repeat. I wasn't sleeping, you know, it was a really, really dark and scary time for me. I remember once I pulled up the results, I started crying again. I was crying every single day, all day long. Either I was so happy I was crying or I was so sad I was crying. But once I pulled up those results, I remember thinking, you are a terrible mom. Why would you ever look that up? That's awful. You should kill yourself. And to have that thought in your head after having a baby that you want to die is astounding. It is an astonishing thought to have. It is scary. And you don't want to tell anyone, because what if they think you're unfit and they take away your baby? So I kept these thoughts to myself. My boyfriend was able to take 2 weeks off of work, and my dad got hurt at work, so he was also, I think he stayed home for about a month. So I always had people around me and my son. It was never just him and I. And I remember thinking that I was incapable of being a real mom, whatever that means, because I was always having help. When I would nurse him, I was able to have someone bring me water or something to drink. If I needed to take a nap, I was able to give him to somebody and I could go sleep for 30 minutes. Try to sleep for 30 minutes. And I thought over and over again, you're not a real mom, you're not a real mom. You're not good enough for your baby, you should kill yourself. The day that my boyfriend and my dad went back to work was one of the worst days of my life, because it was just my son and I was mortified. I was so scared to be alone with him, not because I was afraid of hurting him, but just because I didn't feel worthy to be his mom. And I remember he was just crying and crying and crying, and I couldn't do anything to soothe him. And I finally just called my mom because I was crying. I said, "Mom, please come home. I need help with him." And I felt like such a failure. I thought, who let me have this baby? Why did I have this baby? I don't deserve this baby. I'm a terrible mom. And not being able to comfort your child is so hard. I mean, every parent has dealt with that, but especially when you're having postpartum. I thought that these thoughts were who I was. I did not realize that these thoughts were not me, that they were my symptoms. These thoughts were so real to me. I never once stopped and thought, maybe I have postpartum. It was always, I'm a bad mom. I felt guilty because I was also trying to figure out this new person that I had become. Before I had my son, I didn't really have any real responsibilities. And now I had this little person depending on me. Nobody told me it's okay to mourn who you were, and that it may take you a while to find who you now are. And that those two people can't be the same person still. You can be who you were before you have your babies. I didn't know that. I thought, I'm a mom now, this is the only thing that matters. And I still have days where, I think back a couple years ago and think, who was that person? Who am I if I'm not a mom? And I think that's a really common thought between people, or I think that's a really common thought that a lot of parents have, even if they don't have postpartum, is you kind of put your whole life, your children before yourself, and so without them, who are you? What are you? Sorry, I got kind of lost. I held all of my sadness in for 6 weeks until I finally went to my doctor's appointment after, like my 6-week checkup. I told my doctor all of it because I was still very afraid and I didn't know anything about postpartum depression. All I said was I feel sad some days. So he started me off on a low dose of escitalopram, and I started looking into postpartum. I would type in like scary thoughts after having baby or anxiety after having baby, and I found that there is a whole community out there full of these women that have the exact same thing, and that I wasn't alone, and that I wasn't a bad mom for having these scary thoughts, and that a lot of moms do have these scary thoughts, and it wasn't my fault, and that I loved my baby, and that I was a good parent. So with this new information and with me taking my medication, it took me about 6 or 7 months to finally start feeling human again. I really felt like a robot most days. I was just going through the motion that, I no longer wanted to kill myself, but that I still wasn't worthy for having this beautiful, precious baby. And, it took me a really long time to be okay. And I found this hashtag in this Instagram that I want to tell you guys about, and it's called Postpartum Stress. And I can honestly say that it completely changed my perspective. I had no idea that these other moms out there would think such scary thoughts. Postpartum Stress on Instagram really is so amazing. They post they post everything about postpartum depression, and they do it in these little cartoons, and it's called Good Parents Have Scary Thoughts, Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts. And it's true. And I guess I'm making this video mostly to vent, but also for somebody out there, some mom out there who I'm making this video for a mom out there who might not know what to do, who might feel so alone, who might think, why did I have a baby? Who gave me this baby? I don't deserve this. I'm a bad mom. I just want you to know that you are not alone, and that this is not who you are. It is your symptoms, and that it really will get better. And just to seek help, look for help. Tell someone these scary thoughts. Just sit down and talk to somebody. Loving yourself is so important when you become a parent, and I did not take that into consideration. And a lot of days I still don't take it in consideration. I'll go a lot of days without showing myself any love, and that's not good. Just sit down and find somebody that you can completely trust and just say, I'm having some scary thoughts and I really need to talk to you about them. And they will get you help. A lot of the times talking about it's so therapeutic. It will help. I found this whole birthing world that just opened a new side to parenting to me. And I guess what I want to do is just help someone else. I just want the person that is struggling, that is watching this video, or maybe somebody that seems like they're struggling, to know that it's okay. I want to be the person that I wish that I had during that time. So, I don't know, you're not alone. I can't tell you that enough. You're not alone, and it will get better. I'm 15 months postpartum. I don't really have a ton of scary thoughts anymore. I still have a lot of judgmental thoughts on myself where I'm not good enough, but I kind of just have to push those in the back of my head and just say, my son needs me, I need me. I'm allowed to take up this space. I'm allowed to love myself and love my son at the same time. You can never love someone so much that you don't have any love left over for yourself. And I need to remember that as well. guess I don't really know how to end this video. I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but I hope this helped somebody, and I hope that you find comfort in any way that you can and know that you are doing your best. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome week.